Hello and welcome to the Berkshire Football Stories chat podcast. I'm your host Rob Davies and I'm joined by Tom Canning.
Hello.
And very special guest, Alicia Povey. Alicia, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, very good. So Alicia, you're going to be giving us all the insights on the women's game and maybe even a little bit of futsal if we have time later on, correct?
You always try and get some futsal in. I feel like that's the only reason I'm on.
Yeah, well, that's your, USP. So that's, certainly something we like to highlight, and it's always good to get your opinion on that. So, yeah. Tom, have you been over the last few weeks? It's been a little while since we've done one of these.
Yes, very good, very good. We did have a little podcast out last week with Shay Bottomley around the Maidenhead United ground move, which was nice. But yes, together we've not been for a while, have we? So it's good to be back. I have a job now as well, so that starts in January. So
you don't have a job yet?
No.
Yeah, you almost have a job. You're on next, one step further on to having a job. Well done, and congratulations on that. Right, well, we'll be covering all the, we've got a few weeks of Berkshire football stories to cover and looking ahead to the weekend's games. And we're going to start with last night. We're recording on Wednesday. So last night were County Cup fixtures, the Berks and Bucks Senior Cup. There were a few to choose from, quite exciting games at the end. Tom, do you want to pick out like your favourite? Maybe Thatcham versus Reading perhaps would be the one to highlight first of all.
Yeah, I think that was not necessarily a surprise, but that was probably two teams with players who know each other quite well. Certainly a management team. I think Joshua Romeo was, if I remember rightly, he was previously on the management team at Reading City. So a clash of two sides that know each other quite well, and it was Reading that came away with a 4-1 win on the night. Which is, that's a tremendous result for them. Thatcham have been having a really good season in the Isthmian League. We have seen teams rest a few players for these games, which is quite understandable. There are a lot of games at the moment. There are a lot of games on heavy pitches. But what did we have? We got Dan Ware. Dan, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies, Dan. Eddie Lee scored. Who else? I'm just scrolling through the goal scorers. Donville. Ooh. Just to name Luke Donville, there we go, and this is incredibly professional. And then Eddie Lee again. So Eddie, I've done that the wrong way around. Eddie Lee got the first one, but Thatcham Town took the lead. They took the lead after 5 minutes, and then it was all Reading City.
Very good, yeah. A Step 5 club beating a Step 4 club in the local competition there. So yeah, quite a turnaround, quite an upset for Reading City, who progressed to the 4th round, I believe it is now, with some of the bigger teams. Yeah. Yes,
we will see Milton Keynes Dons, Reading FC, Wycombe Wanderers in the next round, which is quite exciting. So those are the ones that everybody wants.
Yeah, potential for a big tie for Reading City. Lish, do you follow much of the local football around the Berks and Bucks Cup here? You got any insights on any of the teams that we've got listed out who were playing last night?
Not any of those, unfortunately. I think obviously I moved down to the county of Hampshire, so I've been a bit out of it. Obviously, a couple of seasons ago I was at Wycombe, so I've got quite a good insight into them, and obviously MK Dons coming into those competitions. So, like Tom said, like those are the ties that everyone wants. So yeah, it just becomes an occasion. So I think all of those teams looking forward to those rounds, and yeah, getting a result against those teams would be amazing for them, I think.
How do the teams, so the professional sides, see these sort of competitions? Because I mean, it's they get a buy into the quarterfinal, I believe it is. That's the stage we're at now, and we've all mentioned how Reading City will be hoping for a Reading or a MK Dons or a Wycombe in the next round, or a big tie, bring in some gate receipt. But how do the sort of professional sides see these competitions? Are they just good opportunities to try out some younger talents, or extra fixtures that they perhaps don't want? What's the sort of general view of them?
I don't think it's that they're fixtures they don't want. I think, like you say, it's definitely an opportunity for those younger players to sort of try and prove themselves. I think an issue with obviously that sort of League One, Championship, League Two sides is there's not maybe those competitions that they can play those younger players. So you've got a lot of quite big squads and they're not getting game time. Like thinking back to when I was at Wycombe, they had some very talented young players. One of them, TJ DeBar, he was kind of playing in those kind of competitions when I was there at Wycombe, and he's now in the first team playing kind of like week in, week out in League One. So it's definitely that opportunity to kind of to try some different things. And get some game time, especially also players coming back who are injured, because that's always an issue, getting that game time and getting kind of match fitness. So but then it's the clubs coming in from the other side, they're always going to want to fight for that result. So it's always a good game, I think. There's kind of that fight that you want to be getting into that first team for that kind of League One, League Two guys, and then there's the fight for the like smaller clubs to be getting those big results, I think.
Absolutely. So Wycombe are the most successful club in the competition, so I guess that would point to them taking it fairly seriously, but they haven't won it since 2011-12, the 2011-12 season. So maybe this year's the year, or maybe it could be the year for a team like Reading City.
I guess it's about like prioritizing as well. Like obviously, like you say, haven't won it for quite a while, but Wycombe especially looking to kind of push on at the top of League One. MK Dons hopefully like trying to get back into League One, obviously not where they are at the moment, but it'll be an interesting competition.
It's I mean, I think it points also to there being some decent quality at step 3, 4, 5, or even step 1 and 2 with Maidenhead and Slough in these competitions, because the big clubs don't always get it their own way. Reading won it a couple of seasons ago, of course, but they were the when they beat Ascot in the final in the 21-22 season, but they were the only professional club to win it since I think that Wycombe win. So it's I think you're right. The younger players do get played, and youth teams or squad players or whatever, but they're usually given some good games by some decent non-league teams.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, the non-league teams, they're teams that they've played together the whole season. They're well drilled. They know how each other play. Whereas a lot of those kind of League One, League Two kind of younger sides, they're players that haven't necessarily played together. They're kind of thrown together, and they could be technical players, like very technical players, but that's not going to break down a side who played together all season and have been scoring goals like in whatever league they're in, whether that's lower down the pyramid or not.
Very good indeed. Go on, Tom.
I always think it's a shame that the league teams, the professional teams, don't start earlier. I feel like when you see the crowds at some of the games they do, I think Alicia were involved in the Long Grendon game with Wycombe a couple of years ago, and there was over 1,000 people there. I feel like it's a good opportunity for those clubs to kind of almost just give something back. All they have to do is put a team out, which I don't think that's a particularly difficult thing to do. So I think it's a shame they don't start earlier. But there we go. It's something to aim for. I also think it would make the other teams in the competition take it a bit more seriously if they knew they had the opportunity of a 1,000 crowd or 1,000+ crowd at various points in the season. But the other thing I was just trying to work out was who was the lowest team left, and I'd assumed it was Milton Keynes Irish, but they're a step 5 side now. So
Berks County is still in it. Berks County at step 6 are still in it. So it's probably
it's Berks County then, isn't it?
As the so they haven't played their third round game yet. They're playing Marlow next Tuesday. So
yes, next week.
Yeah, they won 10-0 in the previous round in a game that I was at against
was that AFC Aldermaston?
AFC Aldermaston in the Berks and Bucks. So yeah, they're probably I can't think of any other step 6.
No,
apologies if I'm missing someone. But
there isn't. Yeah. Just even Milton United, I assumed might be a step 6. They're not. So
no, there we go. So. But a big game potentially for Berks County if they get through Marlow. Not that Marlow isn't a particularly big game for them next week. But and just to round this out, Tom, the other 2 games. So Hungerford getting a 4-2 win at Binfield. You were tempted to go to that one almost, weren't you? But you didn't get there in the end, I believe.
I didn't in the end. But I just, and I almost hate to do this, but it was good to see Hungerford have a couple of youngsters in their squad. They had who were the 2 lads? I had them here a second ago. There we go. No. Oh, for goodness sake! They were right there in front of Jake Flitter and Callum Ginger. brilliantly named Callum Ginger, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, those two lads were in the team. They've been called up from their academy side, which was great. So it's a good opportunity. But Hungerford ran out 4-2 winners, and I haven't seen the Bracknell score yet. But
they lost 3-2 to Beaconsfield. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
same division.
Two steps, three sides. So teams of a similar standard, and when you get them in cup games, like you say, Beaconsfield now get to go on and potentially have a big game against one of the league sides. So that's very good indeed.
Before we do move on, I think we should possibly also just mention Slough Town beating Havant and Waterlooville in the last minute.
Yes,
that was great, and Maidenhead picked up another point on the road at Ebbsfleet United. I don't know if we were going to get on there. I was just trying to fill time before Neil Maskell turned up, but he still hasn't turned up, so we might have to do the FA Cup bit in a minute.
FA Cup bit in a minute. So you'll see, getting to hear a admin meeting live on air there. So we might push that one back. The FA Cup talk back just a moment, but we can look back rather at FA Trophy fixtures, because there's been lots of cup games over the weekend, and we had an FA Trophy on Saturday with 3 Berkshire sides represented. Bracknell Town at home to Horsham, Hungerford Town at home to Truro City, and Slough Town at home to Farnborough. Which one of these do you want to start with, Tom?
I think it's the Slough Town one, isn't it? There's lots going on off the field after that game.
Oh, okay.
Some pretty unsavoury scenes. Go read the club statements on those 2 bits. It's not a nice video, but it's very unusual for that kind of thing to happen, and I think that will hopefully get sorted out. But yeah, 2-1 to Slough. They won that one. Another really good cup result for them, and I think they are having a real peak this season at the moment, aren't they? They are absolutely flying.
Yeah, they're going quite well. I think the cup runs might have got slightly in the way with their league form, but as you mentioned, they managed to pick up a win last night. So they're climbing the table in the National League South. So they're just out of the relegation zone at the moment, 3 points clear. But yeah, they've had some decent form. They won 2 of their last 3, so 7 points in their last 4 games. And yeah, they're just starting to sort of come into form, and they have a few games in hand over teams ahead of them up the table. So I want to bring you in on this, Lish. How much do you follow the sort of the National League picture for teams like Slough, and cover how they're doing, and what are your thoughts on the FA Trophy and those FA competitions for lower leagues in general?
I can't say it's one that I particularly follow. I was actually at Slough Town for about half a season for their women's team, and I really rate them as a club. I think they're trying to go about things in the right way. So it's good to see that they're getting success on the pitch. And I think, I don't know, I'm a sucker for any kind of cup competition. I think they're just it's an opportunity to be playing against those different teams. And I think they offer fans something a bit different, especially when maybe you're a team that's kind of been in a certain league for quite a long time. To be playing against different teams, it just kind of adds a bit more excitement. But yeah, Slough Town are always going to have a little bit of I've got that kind of link to them, so it's good to see that they're getting some results. Yeah,
very good indeed. So yeah, Slough Town getting through, as we mentioned. Also Hungerford Town, a good win against Truro City there, 2-0 against the side from the division above, or the level above. Hungerford obviously getting relegated from the National South last season, and Truro going the other way. So they essentially replaced each other in each other's divisions, and Hungerford got the 2-0 win against Truro on Saturday. Good result for them, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely terrific result, beating a team that they got promoted from the same level last season. So I think Truro are having a bit of a sticky patch at the moment. But yeah, all three teams at home as well. All three teams drawn away in the next round as well, which is a nice little quirk. So yeah, that's a great win for Hungerford in that one. I think the league form is a little bit up and down, so a nice little trophy run might just be what they need. And obviously Bracknell lost to FA Cup heroes Horsham, but I think they both teams were in the FA Cup first round, so it was a shootout between two sides who've been in the news in the national news recently. It's Horsham that won that one 3-0. So that trophy's over for another year. And we'll see what happens next. When I mentioned three teams, obviously Maidenhead United are now in the draw, and we've had the draw.
We have had the draw, and the prizes for each of our sides for their progress so far. Slough Town are away at National League side Bromley. Maidenhead United coming in against fellow National League side, again, as you mentioned, away from home, Dorking Wanderers. And the Hungerford, I have had it here and I lost it. So they're away at Averley from the National League South. So Averley aside, who've also been promoted to the National League South last summer, but faring a little bit better than Truro, as they were in fact top of the league at one point. They've dropped down to second now. They're a little bit away from Yeovil, but they're still very much in the playoff picture after having two back-to-back promotions. So a side on the up, Averley, and it might be a pretty tough test for Hungerford, that one.
I think all three of those are tough.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're playing teams from a level above, Lish, what sort of, what's your attitude going into the games? Is it just I don't know, hope we don't get beaten, or is it something, we could really take a scalp here at some point? You're probably the most experienced footballer out of the lot of us.
Massively disappointed you haven't asked me this question, Rob.
Yeah. So, how do you approach those sort of games?
I don't think it's a hope you don't get beaten. I think maybe that's a subconscious feeling in the back of your mind.
I can tell you in the Bracknell Sunday League Cup competitions, it was, I hope we don't get beaten.
I think you just want to go out and give a really good account of yourself. I mean, at the moment at work, obviously, so I work for Southampton FC Women. We're preparing for Arsenal tomorrow in the Conti Cup.
Cool.
So we've been doing a lot of kind of pre-match content with Marianne, who's the manager, and her message has very much been like, the pressure's not on us, which I think is a really good way to kind of approach those games. But I think as a player, like, because I've played at quite a lot of different levels, if I don't know, say I've been playing at like step 5 for a bit, and we come up against the step 3 club, which is kind of where I've been for quite a lot of my career. I kind of want to prove myself and be like, I could play at that level if I want to, and it's kind of more of a personal thing rather than a team thing, but just an ego boost maybe. But yeah, I think as a team, like, you always you want to give a good account of yourself, and if you nick a win, then it feels even better. But yeah, I think take the pressure off and then just go for it, I think.
Very good indeed. Well, are we going to delay further for the mascot, or are we going to let him come?
Let's go. If he comes in, he can add some proper insight afterwards.
Well, yeah, we wanted to talk about the Women's FA Cup because there are fixtures coming up this weekend, and we have some Berkshire involvement, even still in the second round proper. Actually, the Berkshire involvement isn't even playing this weekend, but the majority of the fixtures are. Taking place. So we had 2 weeks ago, Maidenhead United played away at Sutton United in the first round of the Women's FA Cup and came out victorious 4-3. Was that one after extra time as well, I believe?
Yes.
So 4-3 after extra time away at Sutton United. So a pretty thrilling cup tie there. And Maidenhead's reward for this is an away tie against Southampton or Brentford. Now, this isn't the Southampton that you're associated with, Lish.
It's not, no. So there's 2 teams in Southampton. There is Southampton Women's, who are also known as the Sirens, and then there's Southampton FC Women, which is where I ply my trade. So yeah, 2 very different teams. So Southampton Women's are actually historically a very successful team in the women's game. They existed for a very long time. and kind of ran parallel to Southampton FC as a club, as a men's side. But now they're in the FA Women's National League Southwest. But they've had some really successful seasons. They've got some very experienced players. There's actually a few ex-Saints players who play there now. So yeah, some very good players. They've not really had the start to this season that you would probably expect given the players that they have, but that doesn't mean they're going to not be a very tough test if Maidenhead do come up against them.
Yeah. So the other team is Brentford. What do you know about Brentford? Because that fixture between Southampton Women and Brentford is taking place this weekend. It's a first round fixture when basically most of the other second round ties are taking place, and then Maidenhead's fixture against the winners of that will take place the following weekend. Who would Maidenhead be hoping to get out of that, Southampton or Brentford, do you think?
I think it's a hard one. I think they're both very different challenges. Brentford, obviously, they're in the league below both Maidenhead and Southampton. So I think you don't want to go into a fixture like that kind of thinking that that's a safe fixture, that just because they're in the league below. Brentford, I think they're kind of in a bit of a false position in terms of where they are in the pyramid. Brentford, as a club, are putting a lot of time and effort into growing their women's game. I think they train at Brentford's training ground. They get all the sort of same facilities and support from the men's side. So very much, there's some very good players in that group. I think there's a few ex-Maidenhead players as well in there, so that'll be quite an interesting matchup. But I think, I don't know, it's hard to say, but maybe you want Southampton because of the kind of difficult start to the season they've had. Maybe because they were competing in the same league, there's that kind of understanding. But Brentford is a bit of an unknown, I think. So I know it sounds funny, but I think maybe they'll prefer Southampton, even though they're in the higher league. Yeah,
well, Maidenhead currently one place above Southampton in that league. So like you say, Southampton, I think, were competing for promotion last season and right up the top of the table, but this season not going quite as well. So yeah, like you say, a tricky start for them, but perhaps a team that Maidenhead is slightly evenly matched against. A good chance, perhaps whoever gets through, a decent chance for Maidenhead to progress to the third round.
Yeah, I think that would be incredible for Maidenhead. I think watching as a sort of, not that I was at Maidenhead very long, but as an ex-Maidenhead player, I've got friends who play for the club. I kind of keep an eye on their results, and it certainly looks like, is it Ed Starkey, the manager? He's doing the right things. So yeah, they're definitely, I think, growing, and they've got their development team. So yeah, I think getting into the kind of historic third round for them would be incredible, and just a testament to all the work that they've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we should mention also, as we're looking back at that first round, we should also mention that Woodley United got there for the first time in their history. Unfortunately, weren't able to overcome Oxford United in that. I mean, that's a team from, is it 3 levels above them? Lish, you might be able to help me out with that one?
They're in step 3, so yeah, I think I'm not very good at maths.
Possibly 3 levels above, I think. And yeah, Woodley United, fantastic achievement to get to the first round for the first time in their history. But Oxford United going through 4-0 on the day. So yeah, but Tom, some credit for Woodley United and their run in the competition this season.
Oh, definitely. I'm just scrolling back through some of their social media posts now. The crowd they had was absolutely incredible, especially at sort of at the pavilions. It's not specifically a football ground. It's a pitch with a pavilion where you can go and get changed. So I think there was a couple of hundred. I remember seeing 400. I remember seeing the word 400, the number 400 mentioned. I'm not sure if that was quite correct, but there were a lot of people there. They had, they put on a T-bar, did a program, all this kind of stuff, and they did absolutely brilliantly. I think it was really good to see. And I hope that they've sort of quite quietly been building a reasonable match day experience down there. I know they've got they use the facilities for supporters and stuff like that. So they're making a really nice deal of going to watch that team, which is great.
Very good indeed. Yeah, good to see another one of our Berkshire women's clubs thriving in the local area. There seems to be a lot coming through at the moment, so that's really good to see. Right, if we push on now, I've got the next item on my agenda, Tom, that you wrote. It just says FIB beer.
Oh, yes.
What would you like to say about that?
So we have been talking about clubs perhaps naming their own beer, having their own beer in their clubhouse in recent weeks. We thought, I haven't really asked anybody. I thought it only right that perhaps we do one as well. So it's going to be the away day Pilsner. Which is going to be available very, very soon to purchase. The idea behind it, I called it Away Day because, to be honest, those are the when I think back to when I used to go regularly, it was the away days that you would enjoy the most. Those are the ones that, especially sort of the longer ones when you'd maybe go away, make a night of it or something like that. Those were the ones when you went with the same group of people, you go every week and you spend an awful lot of time sitting having a drink and reminiscing and talking about that. So I called it the away day Pilsner, and hopefully people will be able to just sit down and have a reminisce and have a chat about some of their favourite away days, and perhaps we could do a special podcast maybe at some point where we could do just that.
Reminisce about your best away days. Yeah. Absolutely, that sounds great. So the beer, where can you get it, and who is it in partnership with?
It is in partnership with Mysterious Brewing. It is. It's got a nice bit of green on it. Lovely picture of a floodlight, which Neil Graham gave us permission to use on the can, and it will be available very soon. Just follow all of our channels, newsletter, whatever. You'll be able to get it.
Lovely, perfect beer for cans on the bus on the way to an away day.
Yes. Oh, indeed. I should also say, a pound of every sale we're going to donate to Launchpad, the homeless charity in Reading, and we'll put a little bit of money in the FIB kitty to help towards costs for the awards next year.
Lovely job indeed. Yeah, and just another reason to get yourself a 6-pack for your next trip, wherever that may be. Good. Well, one more item on the agenda here, Tom, and I think you're going to be taking the lead again. That just says Ross Herridge. Yes. A slight crossover with your new job, perhaps, and something you might have spotted through those channels. But
no, it wasn't me that spotted it. I was bizarrely sat in the pub local to us on Sunday afternoon watching the wrapping up of the cricket. I was only in the pub for about 20 minutes, but just wrapping up the final, the Cricket World Cup final, and I got a message from Roger Herridge, who is no relation to this chap, despite what Roger got him to put in the local paper about 10 years ago. He said, "Do you recognise that guy on the telly?" I was like, "No." I said, "That's Ross Herridge." And so it turns out that Ross, who played a fair bit in his youth for Bracknell and Wokingham and Embrook, went on to play for Reading Town, the old Reading Town side in the first team. Played a few games for Bracknell Town as well in the first team. He, I don't know, it was about 2014. I'd completely forgotten this happened, but he went off to be a physical coach for Nottinghamshire County Cricket Club, and obviously having forgotten that happened, then hadn't realised that he'd also had quite the upward trajectory in his career that meant he moved to Australia, was at teams like the Sydney Sixers. I've written all this down. A couple of other teams, I think the New South Wales side, and eventually the physical performance coach at Australia. So he was at the Cricket World Cup on the bench, and it was quite I love little stories like that. They are my favourite local football stories about how someone who once played local football has gone on to do something like that. I love doing those. So it was a really good one to do. It was proved very popular. There are some incredible pictures of Ross and his hair that I cannot for the life of me find. But it was quite an impressive hairdo. And if I ever do find them, I'm hoping to speak to Ross later this week. So watch this space. But yeah, absolutely, well done to him. I did reach out to a couple of former Reading Town players, just for a couple of memories of him. I know Michael Buck played with him, a couple of other players, but I got hold of Mark Bartley, who's the long-serving Marlow manager, and Mark said one thing about Ross was that he was always physically robust and had a maturity beyond his years when I was playing alongside him. Absolutely fantastic to see him on to great things, and ultimately have become a world champion with the Australian cricket team. Congratulations, Ross. So that's really great, and just thanks to Barts for filing that over to me on the Sunday evening.
Very, very cool, and nice to see people sort of, within the sporting community of Berkshire continuing that passion and having it lead to such heights, world champions. Really incredible. Very good. Well, that's about it for us this week. Unless anyone has any other business, no hands sticking up or anything.
I feel like I should do, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head, except it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Nice to have a little chat, isn't it? Break up your working day. Yeah. Very good.
Can I? Oh, hang on. Just before we do, if you haven't signed up for our newsletters, you can go onto the website, and it says on the. I'll make it a bit more easier to find it. But go and sign up for the newsletter. Every Friday we are producing some distinct content that's different to what you'll get on the website. It goes on the website eventually, because that would be a waste. But Alicia's provided a piece last week. Rob, I'm going to get you to do a bit. So there's usually a couple of bits every week that's different. Dave Wright, the veteran reporter Dave Wright, legendary reporter Dave Wright, has got a piece this week going in about his love of non-league football and why he's still reporting on the game, even though he essentially retired a long time ago now. So that's a really great piece. So please go and sign up for the newsletters, because it's going to be some unique stuff every week.
Brilliant. Very worth getting involved in that. And as you've covered basically one of our forms of communication, why don't you tell everyone else where they can find all the rest of our content?
You can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Threads, although there's not much going on there, but LinkedIn is a good one to find us on. There's bits and pieces going up there, and you can also find us on Facebook, but most importantly the website footballinberkshire.co.uk.
Get over there for all of your local football news. Brilliant. Well, that's about it for us today. So I'll say thank you very much to my guest, our special guest, I should say, Alicia Povey, for joining us this afternoon. Thanks, Alicia.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tom, for joining me as always.
You're very welcome.
And thanks to everyone for listening. And it's goodbye from all of us. Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya.